You woke up this morning, walked to the kitchen, made yourself coffee, and sat down. That's it. That was your morning. And your body handled it fine. No stress, no strain, nothing remarkable. But here's what your body was actually built for: sprinting 6 miles through open savanna with no shoes, carrying a 200-pound animal carcass back to camp across rocky, uneven ground, climbing steep terrain with bare hands in freezing temperatures, wrestling prey to the ground, and then surviving a night with no shelter, no heat, and no guarantee of tomorrow. For over 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors did exactly that, every single day. Not athletes, not warriors, not specially selected individuals. Everyone, men, women, teenagers, all of them operating at a physical level that would destroy the average person alive today. Without a gym membership, without protein powder, without a physiotherapist, without a single piece of equipment we now consider essential. So why is it that modern humans, with all our medicine, all our nutrition science, all our technology, all our understanding of the human body, are measurably, provably, physically weaker than people who lived in caves? Not just slightly weaker, dramatically weaker, in ways that should make every single one of us stop and ask a very uncomfortable question. The answer changes everything we think we know about human strength, human evolution, and what this body was actually designed to do. Look at the human skeleton. Bone density in modern humans has declined by nearly 20% compared to pre-agricultural humans from just 10,000 years ago. Not ancient hominids from 2 million years back. Not Neanderthals from a different species line. People from 10,000 years ago, essentially us, biologically identical to us, had measurably stronger, denser, more robust bones than any average person walking the earth today. When every single population across every continent shows the same pattern of decline across the same historical window, you stop blaming individual laziness and you start looking at the blueprint. Consider this. A chimpanzee, pound for pound, is roughly 1.5 times stronger than a trained human athlete at peak conditioning. Not a wild chimp versus a couch-bound office worker. A wild chimp versus someone who trains daily. Their muscle fiber composition was never rewired. Their neuromuscular system was never softened. Ours was, deliberately, gradually, irreversibly. And yet we are the only species on this planet that builds machines, devices, and entire industries specifically to compensate for the physical strength we voluntarily abandoned. No other animal has ever done that. No other animal has ever had to. In 2015, Dr. Colin Shaw of the University of Cambridge published a landmark study in the Proceedings of the Royal Society B. Shaw, a biological anthropologist specializing in skeletal biomechanics, analyzed the tibial shin bone cross-sections of humans across approximately 7,000 years of European prehistory. His team compared hunter-gatherers, early farmers, and later agricultural populations using CT scanning and geometric morphometric analysis. He found that the shift from hunter-gatherer lifestyles to settled farming produced a dramatic and measurable reduction in bone strength, not over millions of years of slow evolutionary change, but within just a few thousand years. The bones became lighter, narrower, more porous, and structurally more fragile almost immediately after the adoption of agriculture. The trigger wasn't genetic mutation, it was behavioral change. Then there's the skeletal evidence from Natufian burial sites in modern-day Israel and Jordan, systematically excavated throughout the 20th century by researchers including Dr. Ofer Bar Yosef of Harvard University, one of the most influential prehistoric archaeologists of the past century. The Natufians, among the last major large-scale hunter-gatherer cultures before the agricultural transition in the Levant, showed upper body strength signatures in their arm and shoulder bones directly comparable to today's elite competitive rowing athletes. These were not selected warriors, not specialized hunters. These were average community members, men and women. And here's what makes it stranger. The skeletal markers of this extraordinary physical capacity appeared in virtually every adult skeleton recovered from these sites. It wasn't exceptional, it was the norm. And it vanished within a few generations of the agricultural shift. Not slowly, almost overnight, in geological terms. But mainstream evolutionary biology actually has a well-developed answer for this. It's called the energy allocation trade-off hypothesis, and it sits at the core of how evolutionary scientists explain human physical decline. The central idea is straightforward. Building and maintaining dense bone, thick cortical walls, and powerful fast-twitch muscle fibers is metabolically expensive. Your body burns significant calories just keeping that hardware operational, even at rest. When food was scarce, unpredictable, and had to be physically chased down and killed, the body prioritized physical output because survival absolutely demanded it. Every calorie invested in stronger bone and faster muscle directly translated into a higher chance of living to reproduce. Once agriculture arrived and guaranteed a reliable caloric baseline once you no longer had to outrun your food, the body rationally began redirecting that expensive energy budget toward other functions. Reproduction efficiency, immune system investment, higher order brain activity. The specific mechanism operates at the level of gene expression, not just muscular use. Use it or lose it doesn't just apply to the gym. It applies to your DNA, switching certain physical programs on or off based on the demands your lifestyle sends as signals. It makes sense. It is logical. It is almost certainly a significant part of the true answer. But it doesn't explain one critical thing: why the physical decline happened measurably faster than natural selection timescales would predict, and why modern athletes training at absolute maximum intensity for their entire careers still cannot fully recover the baseline bone density of an ordinary, unremarkable Paleolithic farmer who simply lived the life his body expected. Go back 300,000 years to the Middle Stone Age of sub-Saharan Africa. Ancient humans are not strolling. They are covering 10 to 15 miles daily across varied, demanding terrain. Rocky hillsides, dry riverbeds, dense brush, no paths, no shoes, no pack animals carrying their load. Real skeletal evidence from this period tells us with remarkable precision exactly what that continuous physical demand did to the human body over hundreds of thousands of years. At the site of Broken Hill in Zambia, one of the most significant hominin fossil sites on the African continent, remains attributed to Homo heidelbergensis showed femur cortical bone thickness so pronounced that modern biomechanical loading models estimate these individuals routinely sustained skeletal stresses far exceeding anything measured in living humans today, including professional athletes. These were not outliers. This was the baseline. This was what normal looked like. Scientists analyzing skeletal remains from Skull Cave on Mount Carmel in Israel dating back approximately 100,000 years and representing some of the earliest anatomically modern humans outside of Africa, found muscle attachment points on the humerus and scapula so hypertrophied, so dramatically pronounced, that the markings are almost unrecognizable when placed beside a modern human skeleton side by side. These weren't muscle insertions built through deliberate training. They were built through a lifetime of continuous high-load physical activity, beginning in early childhood and never stopping. What the skeletal record reveals is something deeply uncomfortable for modern humans to sit with. Ancient human physical capacity wasn't an achievement. It wasn't something they worked toward. It was simply the default state, the natural output of living the life the human body was calibrated to live. The bones, the joints, the tendon attachment geometry, the cortical bone architecture, every structural detail was tuned for a world that no longer exists. And here's what nobody expected when geneticists began mapping the ancient human genome: the full genetic architecture for that strength, that density, that physical baseline is still encoded inside you. Every single one of those programs is still present. They haven't been deleted by evolution. They have simply been silenced. Your body still carries the complete blueprint for what it once was. It just stopped receiving the signal to build it. No species in 4 billion years of continuous life on this planet has ever voluntarily dismantled its own primary physical capability this rapidly. The great white shark has remained functionally unchanged for 400 million years. Its hydrodynamic body, its cartilaginous skeleton, its electroreceptive sensory system perfected by selection and then left completely alone because nothing demanded improvement. The saltwater crocodile has prowled rivers and coastlines for over 200 million years with essentially the same body plan, the same jaw architecture delivering the same crushing bite force, the same predatory ambush strategy. In all that time through ice ages, mass extinctions, continental drift, neither changed in any fundamental way because neither needed to. And then there's us. We went from apex endurance, persistence hunters, the most effective long-distance pursuit predators the mammalian world had ever produced, to sedentary, chair-bound, screen-dependent workers in 10,000 years. From bones strong enough to withstand the impact of tackling a wounded aurochs to bones that fracture stepping awkwardly off a pavement curb. From cardiovascular systems built for multi-hour pursuit running to hearts developing chronic disease before we reach 40. From resting muscle tone calibrated for a world of constant physical demand to postural muscles so atrophied they cannot hold our own spine upright through an 8-hour workday. From carrying loads that would injure a modern person to spending years of our lives sitting in a posture the human skeleton was never designed to hold. 10,000 years. In the full span of Earth's biological history, that is not even a rounding error. It is a single page in a library that fills an entire city. And scientists still cannot fully agree on whether what we traded away, the strength, the density, the physical baseline, was worth what we got in return. The most honest answer science has right now is, we don't fully know where this ends. We have the bones, we have the genetic sequencing, we have the biomechanical models and the archaeological record and the epidemiological data. We have more information about the human body than any generation in history has ever possessed. And we still don't have the complete picture. That gap between what we know and what we still can't answer is what keeps the question alive. Maybe physical weakness is not a flaw in the modern human story. Maybe it is a receipt. Proof of a trade we made somewhere around 10,000 years ago without fully understanding the long-term terms of the agreement. Because if we spent 300,000 years becoming the most physically capable, most endurance-optimized, most biomechanically sophisticated hunter this planet had ever produced, and then, in a single geological breath, decided to stop being, that then we are perhaps the strangest, most paradoxical thing evolution has ever accidentally created. A species powerful enough to survive every environment on Earth, intelligent enough to build a world where that power became unnecessary, and now quietly, slowly, across generations, becoming something our ancestors would not physically recognize at all. A body running ancient software in a world that no longer sends it the commands it was written to receive, and we still don't know what it means, whether we are the first species to consciously choose its own physical regression, or simply the first one to notice it happening.